KaraokeBooks.
Ulysses. James Joyce. Audiobook. Chapter 11. Bronze by gold heard the hoof-horns steely ringing. Imperfectanthen thn. Chips, picking chips off rocky thumbnail, chips. Horrid. And gold flushed more. A husky fife note blue. Blue. Blue bloom is on the gold pinnacled hair. A jumping rose on satiny breast of satin, rose of Castile. Trilling, trilling, idlers. Peep. Who's in the peep of gold? Tink cried to bronze in pity. And a call, here, long and throbbing. Long-indying call. Decoy. Soft word. But look, the bright stars fade. Notes chirruping answer. O rose. Castile. The morn is breaking. Jingle jingle jaunted jingling. Coin rang. Clock clacked. Avowal, saunas, I could. Rebound of garter. Not leave thee. Smack, la cloche, thigh smack. Avowal. Warm. Sweetheart, goodbye. Jingle. Blue. Boomed crashing chords. When love absorbs. War. War. The tympanum. A sail. A veil, a wave upon the waves. Lost. Throstle fluted. All is lost now. Horn. Ha horn. When first he saw. Alas. Full tup. Full throb. Warbling. Ah, lure. Alluring. Martha. Come. Clap clap. Clip clap. Clappy clap. Good God Henev Erhard and all. Deaf bald Pat brought pad knife took up. A moonlit night call, far, far. I feel so sad. P. S. So lonely blooming. Listen. The spiked and winding cold seahorn. Have you the? Each, and for other, plash and silent roar. Pearls, when she lists rhapsodies. Hiss. You don't? Did not, no, no, believe, lid. With a cock with a cara. Black. Deep sounding. Do, Ben, do. Wait while you wait. He. Wait while you he. But wait. Low in dark middle earth. Embedded ore. Demean. Preacher is he. All gone. All fallen. Tiny, her tremulous fern foils of maidenhair. Amen. He gnashed in fury. Fro. Fro. A baton cool protruding. Bronzolidia by Minigold. By bronze, by gold, in ocean green of shadow. Bloom. Old bloom. One wrapped, one tapped, with a cara, with a cock. Pray for him. Pray, good people. His gouty fingers knackering. Big Benabin. Big Ben. Last rose Castile of summer left bloom, I feel so sad alone. Whee. Little wind piped wee. True men. Lid cur cow da and doll. I. Like you men. Will lift your chink with chunk. F. Ooh. Wear bronze from a near. Wear gold from afar. Wear hoofs. RRRPR. Craw. Crandall. Then not till then. My epitaph. BPFR writ. Done. Begin. Bronze by gold, Miss Douce's head by Miss Kennedy's head, over the crossblind of the Ormond bar heard the vice-regal hoofs go by, ringing steel. Is that her? Asked Miss Kennedy. Miss Douce said yes, sitting with his ex, Pearl Grey and Eau de Nil. Exquisite contrast, Miss Kennedy said. When all agog Miss Douce said eagerly. Look at the fellow in the tall silk. Who? Where? Gold asked more eagerly. In the second carriage, Miss Douce's wet lips said, laughing in the sun. He's looking. Mind till I see. She darted, bronze, to the backmost corner, flattening her face against the pane in a halo of hurried breath. Her wet lips tittered. He's killed looking back. She laughed. Oh, wept. Aren't men frightful idiots? With sadness. Miss Kennedy sauntered sadly from bright light, twining a loose hair behind an ear. Sauntering sadly, gold no more, she twined a hair. Sadly she twined in sauntering gold hair behind a curving ear. It's them has the fine times, sadly then she said. A man. Blue Auho went by Moulang's pipes bearing in his breast the sweets of sin, by wine's antiques, in memory bearing sweet sinful words, by Carol's dusky battered plate, for Raoul. The boots to them in the bar, them barmaids came. For them unheeding him he banged on the counter his tray of chattering china. And, there's your teas, he said. Miss Kennedy with manners transposed the tea tray down to an upturned lithia crate, safe from eyes, low. What is it? Loud Boots unmannerly asked. Find out, Miss Douce retorted, leaving her spying point. Your beau, is it? A haughty Bronze replied. I'll complain to Mrs. Stately. Plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, "Damacy on you if I hear any more of your impertinent insolence." Imperfectanthin thn. Boots' snout sniffed rudely, as he retreated as she threatened as he had come. Bloom. On her flower frowning Miss Douce said. Most aggravating that young brat is. If he doesn't conduct himself I'll wring his ear for him a yard long. Ladylike in exquisite contrast. Take no notice, Miss Kennedy rejoined. She poured in a teacup tea, then back in the teapot tea. They cowered under their reef of counter, waiting on footstools, crates upturned, waiting for their teas to draw. They pawed their blouses, both of black satin, 2 and 9 a yard, waiting for their teas to draw, and 2 and 7. Yes, bronze from a near, by gold from afar, heard steel from a near, hoofs ring from afar, and heard steel hoofs ring hoof ring steel. Am I awfully sunburnt? Miss Bronze unbloused her neck. No, said Miss Kennedy. It gets brown after. Did you try the borax with the cherry laurel water? Miss Douce half stood to see her skin askance in the bar mirror gilded lettered where hock and claret glasses shimmered and in their midst a shell. And leave it to my hands, she said. Try it with the glycerin, Miss Kennedy advised. Bidding her neck and hands adieu Miss Douce. Those things only bring out a rash, replied, reseated. I asked that old fogey in Boyd's for something for my skin. Miss Kennedy, pouring now a full-drawn tea, grimaced and prayed. Oh, don't remind me of him for mercy's sake. But wait till I tell you, Miss Douce entreated. Sweet tea Miss Kennedy having poured with milk plugged both 2 ears with little fingers. No, don't, she cried. I won't listen, she cried. But Bloom? Miss Douce grunted in snuffy fogey's tone. For your what? Says he. Miss Kennedy unplugged her ears to hear, to speak, but said, but prayed again. Don't let me think of him or I'll expire. The hideous old wretch. That night in the ancient concert rooms. She sipped distastefully her brew, hot tea, a sip, sipped, sweet tea. Here he was, Miss Douce said, cocking her bronze head 3/4, ruffling her no sewings. Hoofa. Hoofa. Shrill shriek of laughter sprang from Miss Kennedy's throat. Miss Deuce huffed and snorted down her nostrils that quivered imperfectly like a snout in quest. "Oh!" Shrieking, Miss Kennedy cried. "Will you ever forget his goggle eye?" Miss Deuce chimed in deep bronze laughter, shouting. "And your other eye?" Blue Oho's dark eye read Aaron Figatner's name. Why do I always think figather? Gathering figs, I think. And Prosper Lore's Huguenot name. By Bossy's blessed virgin's Bloom's dark eyes went by. Blue-robed, white under, come to me. God they believe she is, or goddess. Those today. I could not see. That fellow spoke. A student. After with Daedalus' son. He might be Mulligan. All comely virgins. That brings those rakes of fellows in, her white. By went his eyes. The sweets of sin. Sweet are the sweets. Of sin. In a giggling peal young gold bronze voices blended, Deuce with Kennedy your other eye. They threw young heads back, bronze giggle gold, to let free fly their laughter, screaming, your other, signals to each other, high piercing notes. Ah, panting, sighing, ah, Fordone, their mirth died down. Miss Kennedy lipped her cup again, raised, drank a sip and giggled. Miss Deuce, bending over the tea tray, ruffled again her nose and rolled droll fattened eyes. Again Kenny giggles, stooping, her fair pinnacles of hair, stooping, her tortoise napacomb showed, spluttered out of her mouth her tea, choking in tea and laughter, coughing with choking, crying. Oh greasy eyes! Imagine being married to a man like that. She cried. With his bit of beard. Deuce gave full vent to a splendid yell, a full yell of full woman, delight, joy, indignation. Married to the greasy nose. She yelled. Shrill, with deep laughter, after bronze, they urged each to peal after peal, ringing in changes, bronze gold bronze, shrill deep, to laughter after laughter. And then laughed more. Greasy eye nose. Exhausted, breathless, their shaken heads they laid, braided and pinnacled by glossy-combed, against the counterledge. All flushed, oh, panting, sweating, oh, all breathless. Married to Bloom, to Grease a Bloom. Oh saints above. Miss Deuce said, sighed above her jumping rose. I wished I hadn't laughed so much. I feel all wet. Oh, Miss Deuce. Miss Kennedy protested. You horrid thing. And flushed yet more, you horrid, more goldenly. By Cantwell's offices roved Greaseabloom, by Seppi's virgins, bright of their oils. Nanetti's father hawked those things about, wheedling at doors as I. Religion pays. Must see him for that par. Eat first. I want. Not yet. At 4, she said. Time ever passing. Clock hands turning. On. Where eat? The Clarence, Dolphin. On. For Raoul. Eat. If I net 5 guineas with those ads. The violet silk petticoats. Not yet. The sweets of sin. Flushed less, still less, goldenly paled. Into their bar strolled Mr. Stately. Plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, Daedalus. Chips, picking chips off one of his rocky thumbnails. Chips. He strolled. Oh, welcome back, Miss Deuce. He held her hand. Enjoyed her holidays? Tip-top. He hoped she had nice weather in Rostrevor. Gorgeous, she said. Look at the holy show I am. Lying out on the strand all day. Bronze whiteness. That was exceedingly naughty of you, Mr. Stately. Plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned. Daedalus told her and pressed her hand indulgently. Tempting poor simple males. Miss Deuce of Satin deuced her arm away. Oh, go away, she said. You're very simple, I don't think. He was. Well, now I am, he mused. I looked so simple in the cradle they christened me Simple Simon. You must have been a dotee, Miss Deuce made answer. And what did the doctor order today? Well now, he mused, whatever you say yourself. I think I'll trouble you for some fresh water and a half-glass of whiskey. Jingle. With the greatest alacrity, Miss Deuce agreed. With grace of alacrity towards the mirror-gilt Cantrell and Cochrane's she turned herself. With grace she tapped a measure of gold whiskey from her crystal keg. Forth from the skirt of his coat Mr. Stately, Plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned. Daedalus brought pouch and pipe. Alacrity she served. He blew through the flue 2 husky fife notes. By Jove, he mused, I often wanted to see the Mourne Mountains. Must be a great tonic in the air down there. But a long threatening comes at last, they say. Yes. 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 He fingered shreds of hair, her maidenhair, her mermaids, into the bowl. Chips. Shreds. Musing. Mute. None not said nothing. Yes. Gaily Miss Deuce polished a tumbler, trilling. Oh, Idolors, Queen of the Eastern Seas. Was Mr. Stately. Plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned. Lidwell in today? In came Lenihan. Round him peered Lenihan. Mr. Stately. Plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned. Bloom reached Essex Bridge. Yes, Mr. Stately. Plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned. Bloom crossed Bridge of Essex. To Martha I must write. By paper. Dailies. Girl they're civil. Bloom. Old Bloom. Blue Bloom is on the Rye. He was in at lunchtime, Miss Deuce said. Lenihan came forward. Was Mr. Stately. Plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned. Boylan looking for me? He asked. She answered. Miss Kennedy. Was Mr. Stately. Plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned. Boylan in while I was upstairs? She asked. Miss Voice of Kennedy answered, a second teacup poised, her gaze upon a page. No. He was not. Miss gaze of Kennedy, heard, not seen, read on. Lenehan round the sandwich bell wound his round body round. Peep. Who's in the corner? No glance of Kennedy rewarding him, he yet made overtures. To mind her stocks. To read only the black ones, round O and crooked S. Jingle jaunty jingle. Girl gold she read and did not glance. Take no notice. She took no notice while he read by rote a solfa fable for her, flappering flatly. Ah fox met ah stork. Said the fox to the stork, will you put your bill down in my troth and pull up ah bone? He droned in vain. Miss Douce turned to her tea aside. He sighed aside. Ah me. Oh my. He greeted Mr. Stately. Plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, Daedalus, and got a nod. Greetings from the famous son of a famous father. Who may he be? Mr. Stately, Plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, Daedalus asked. Lenehan opened most genial arms. Who? Who may he be? He asked. Can you ask? Stephen, the youthful bard. Dry. Mr. Stately, Plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, Daedalus, famous father, laid by his dry-filled pipe. I see, he said. I didn't recognize him for the moment. I hear he is keeping very select company. Have you seen him lately? He had. I quaffed the nectar bowl with him this very day, said Lenehan. In Mooney's Enville and in Mooney's sur Mer. He had received the rhino for the labor of his muse. He smiled at Bronze's tea-bathed lips, at listening lips and eyes. The elite of Aaron hung upon his lips. The ponderous pundit, Hugh McHugh, Dublin's most brilliant scribe and editor, and that minstrel boy of the wild wet west who is known by the euphonious appellation of the O'Madden Burke. After an interval Mr. Stately, Plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, Daedalus raised his grog and... That must have been highly diverting, said he. I see. He see. He drank. With faraway morning mountain eye. Set down his glass. He looked towards the saloon door. I see you have moved the piano. The tuner was in today, Miss Douce replied, tuning it for the smoking concert, and I never heard such an exquisite player. Is that a fact? Didn't he, Miss Kennedy? The real classical, you know. And blind too, poor fellow. Not 20, I'm sure he was. Is that a fact? Mr. Stately, Plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, Daedalus said. He drank and strayed away. So sad to look at his face, Miss Douce condoled. God's curse on bitch's bastard. Tink to her pity, cried a diner's bell. To the door of the bar and dining room came bald Pat, came bothered Pat, came Pat, waiter of Ormond. Lager for diner. Lager without alacrity she served. With patience Lenihan waited for Boylan with impatience, for Jingle Jaunty Blazes boy. Upholding the lid who, gazed in the coffin, at the oblique triple, piano, wires. He pressed, the same who pressed indulgently her hand, soft pedaling, a triple of keys to see the thicknesses of felt advancing, to hear the muffled hammerfall in action. 2 sheets cream vellum paper, 1 reserve, 2 envelopes. When I was in wisdom Helly's wise bloom in Daly's Henry Flower bought. Are you not happy in your home? Flower to console me and a pin cuts low. Means something, language of flow. Was it a daisy? Innocence that is. Respectable girl meet after mass. Thanks awfully muchly. Wise bloom-eyed on the door a poster, a swaying mermaid smoking mid nice waves. Smoke mermaids, coolest whiff of all. Hair streaming, lovelorn. For some man. For Raoul. He eyed and saw afar on Essex Bridge a gay hat riding on a jaunting car. It is. Again. 3rd time. Coincidence. Jingling on supple rubbers it jaunted from the bridge to Ormond Quay. Follow. Risk it. Go quick. At 4. Near now. Out. 2pence, sir, the shopgirl dared to say. Aha. I was forgetting. Excuse. And 4. At 4 she. Winsomely she on Bluehemwam smiled. Blue SMI key go. Ternoon. Think you're the only pebble on the beach? Does that all? For men. In drowsy silence gold bent on her page. From the saloon a call came, long in dying. That was a tuning fork the tuner had that he forgot that he now struck. A call again. That he now poised that it now throbbed. You hear? It throbbed, pure, purer, softly and softlier, its buzzing prongs. Longer in dying call. Pat paid for diner's pop-corked bottle, and over tumbler, tray and pop-corked bottle ere he went he whispered, bald and bothered, with Miss Deuce. The bright stars fade. A voiceless song sang from within, singing. The morn is breaking. A duodene of bird notes chirruped bright treble answer under sensitive hands. Brightly the keys, all twinkling, linked, all harpsichording, called to a voice to sing the strain of dewy morn, of youth, of love's leave-taking, love's morn. The dewdrops purl. Lenihan's lips over the counter lisped a low whistle of decoy. But look this way, he said, Rose of Castile. Jingle jaunted by the curb and stopped. She rose and closed her reading, Rose of Castile, fretted, forlorn, dreamily rose. Did she fall or was she pushed? He asked her. She answered, slighting. Ask no questions and you'll hear no lies. Like ladylike. Blazes Boylan's smart tan shoes creaked on the bar floor where he strode. Yes, gold from a near-by bronze from afar. Lenihan heard and knew and hailed him. See the conquering hero comes. Between the car and window, warily walking, went Bloom, unconquered hero. See me he might. The seat he sat on, warm. Black wary Hecate walked towards Richie Golding's legal bag, lifted aloft, saluting. And I from thee. I heard you were round, said Blazes Boylan. He touched to fair Miss Kennedy a rim of his slanted straw. She smiled on him. But Sister Bronze outsmiled her, preening for him her richer hair, a bosom and a rose. Smart Boylan bespoke potions. What's your cry? Glass of bitter? Glass of bitter, please, and a slogan for me. Wire in yet? Not yet. At 4 she. Who said 4? Cowley's red lugs and bulging apple in the door of the sheriff's office. Avoid. Golding a chance. What is he doing in the Ormond? Car waiting. Wait. Hello. Where off to? Something to eat? I too was just in here. What, Ormond? Best value in Dublin. Is that so? Dining room. Sit tight there. See, not be seen. I think I'll join you. Come on. Richie led on. Bloom followed bag. Dinner fit for a prince. Miss Douce reached high to take a flagon, stretching her satin arm, her bust, that all but burst, so high. Oh. Oh. Jerked Lenihan, gasping at each stretch. Oh. But easily she seized her prey and let it low in triumph. Why don't you grow? Asked Blazes Boylan. Chebrons, dealing from her oblique jar thick syrupy liquor for his lips, looked as it flowed, flour in his coat. Who gave him, and syrup with her voice. Fine goods in small parcels. That is to say she. Neatly she poured slowsy rupee slow. Here's fortune, Blazes said. He pitched a broad coin down. Coin rang. Hold on, said Lenihan, till I. Fortune, he wished, lifting his bubbled ale. Sceptre will win in a canter, he said. I plunged a bit, said Boylan winking and drinking. Not on my own, you know. Fancy of a friend of mine. Lenihan still drank and grinned at his tilted ale and at Miss Douce's lips that all but hummed, not shut, the ocean song her lips had trilled. Idlors. The Eastern Seas. Clock word. Miss Kennedy passed their way, flower, wonder who gave, bearing away tea tray. Clock clacked. Miss Douce took Boylan's coin, struck boldly the cash register. It clanged. Clock clacked. Fair one of Egypt teased and sorted in the till and hummed and handed coins in change. Look to the west. A clack. For me. What time is that? Asked Blazes Boylan. 4? O'clock. Lenihan, small eyes a hunger on her humming, bust a humming, tugged Blazes Boylan's elbow sleeve. Let's hear the time, he said. The bag of Golding, Collis, Ward led Bloom by Rybloom flowered tables. Aimless he chose with agitated aim, bald Pat attending, a table near the door. Be near. At 4. Has he forgotten? Perhaps a trick. Not come, whet appetite. I couldn't do. Wait, wait. Pat, waiter, waited. Sparkling bronze azure-eyed Blazer's sky-blue bow and eyes. Go on, pressed Lenihan. There's no one. He never heard. To Flora's lips did he a high note pealed in the treble clear. Bronzedeuse communing with her rose that sank and rose sought Blazes Boylan's flower in eyes. Please, please. He pleaded over returning phrases of avowal. I could not leave thee. Afterwards, Miss Douce promised coyly. No, now, urged Lenihan. Sonnes la cloche, oh do. There's no one. She looked. Quick. Miss Ken out of earshot. Sudden bent. 2 kindling faces watched her bend. Quavering the chords strayed from the air, found it again, lost chord, and lost and found it, faltering. Go on. Do, Sonnes. Bending, she nipped a peak of skirt above her knee. Delayed. Taunted them still, bending, suspending, with willful eyes. Sonnes. Smack. She set free sudden in rebound her nipped elastic garter smack warm against her smackable a woman's warmost thigh. La cloche, cried gleeful Lenihan. Trained by owner. No sawdust there. She smiles murked supercilious, wept. Aren't men, but, lightward gliding, mild she smiled on Boylan. You're the essence of vulgarity, she in gliding said. Boylan, eyed. Tossed to fat lips his chalice, drank off his chalice tiny, sucking the last fat violet syrupy drops. His spellbound eyes went after her gliding head as it went down the bar by mirrors, gilded arch for ginger ale, hock and claret glasses shimmering, a spiky shell, where it concerted, mirrored, bronze with sunnier bronze. Yes, bronze from NRB. ... Sweetheart, goodbye. I'm off, said Boylan with impatience. He slid his chalice brisk away, grasped his change. Wait a shake, begged Lenihan, drinking quickly. I wanted to tell you. Tom Rochford. Come on to Blazes, said Blazes Boylan, going. Lenihan gulped to go. Got the horn or what? He said. Wait. I'm coming. He followed the hasty creaking shoes but stood by nimbly by the threshold, saluting forms, a bulky with a slender. How do you do, Mr. Stately? Plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, Dollard? Eh? How do? How do? Ben Dollard's vague bass answered, turning an instant from Father Cowley's woe. He won't give you any trouble, Bob. Alf Bergen will speak to the long fellow. We'll put a barley straw in that Judas Iscariot's ear this time. Sighing Mr. Stately, Plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned. Daedalus came through the saloon, a finger soothing an eyelid. Ho ho, we will, Ben Dollard Yod led jollily. Come on, Simon. Give us a ditty. We heard the piano. Bald Pat, bothered waiter, waited for drink orders. Power for Richie. And Bloom? Let me see. Not make him walk twice. His corns. 4 now. How warm this black is. Coarse nerves a bit. Refracts, is it, heat? Let me see. Cider. Yes, bottle of cider. What's that? Mr. Stately, Plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, Daedalus said. I was only vamping, man. Come on, Ben Dollard called. Be gone, dull care. Come, Bob. He ambled Dollard, bulky slops, before them, hold that fellow with the, hold him now, into the saloon. He plumped him Dollard on the stool. His gouty paws plumped chords. Plumped, stopped abrupt. Bald Pat in the doorway met Tealess Gold returning. Bothered, he wanted power and cider. Bronze by the window, watched, bronze from afar. Jingle a tinkle jaunted. Bloom heard a jing, a little sound. He's off. Light sob of breath Bloom sighed on the silent blue-hued flowers. Jingling. He's gone. Jingle. Here. Love and War, Ben, Mr. Stately, Plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, Daedalus said. God be with old times. Miss Douce's brave eyes, unregarded, turned from the crossblind, smitten by sunlight. Gone. Pensive, who knows, smitten, the smiting light, she lowered the drop blind with a sliding cord. She drew down pensive. Why did he go so quick when I about her bronze, over the bar where bald stood by Sister Gold, inexquisite contrast. Contrast inexquisite non-exquisite, slow cool dim sea-green sliding depth of shadow, eau de Nil. Poor old Goodwin was the pianist that night, Father Cowley reminded them. There was a slight difference of opinion between himself and the collared Gran. There was a symposium all his own. Mr. Stately, plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, Daedalus said. The devil wouldn't stop him. He was a crotchety old fellow in the primary stage of drink. God, do you remember? Ben Bulky Dollard said, turning from the punished keyboard. And by japers I had no wedding garment. They laughed all three. He had no wed. All trio laughed. No wedding garment. Our friend Bloom turned in handy that night. Mr. Stately, plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, Daedalus said. Where's my pipe, by the way? He wandered back to the bar to the lost chord pipe. Bald Pat carried 2 diners' drinks, Richie and Poldy. And Father Cowley laughed again. I saved the situation, Ben, I think. You did, averred Ben Dollard. I remember those tight trousers too. That was a brilliant idea, Bob. Father Cowley blushed to his brilliant purpley lobes. He saved the situa. Tight true. Brilliant-eyed. I knew he was on the rocks, he said. The wife was playing the piano in the Coffee Palace on Saturdays for a very trifling consideration, and who was it gave me the wheeze she was doing the other business? Do you remember? We had to search all Hollis Street to find them till the chap in Keogh's gave us the number. Remember? Ben remembered, his broad visage wondering. By God, she had some luxurious opera cloaks and things there. Mr. Stately, plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned. Daedalus wandered back, pipe in hand. Marion Square style. Ball dresses, by God, and court dresses. He wouldn't take any money either. What? Any god's quantity of cocked hats and boleros and truncos. What? Aye, Mr. Stately, plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned. Daedalus nodded. Mrs. Stately, plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned. Marion Bloom has left off clothes of all descriptions. Jingle jaunted down the quays. Blazes sprawled on bounding tires. Liver and bacon. Steak and kidney pie. Right, sir. Right, Pat. Mrs. Stately, plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned. Marion. Met him pike hoses. Smell of burn. Of Paul de Kock. Nice name he. What's this her name was? A buxom lassie. Marion. Tweedy. Yes. Is she alive? And kicking. She was a daughter of the regiment. Yes, begad. I remember the old drumahor. Mr. Stately, plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned. Daedalus struck, whizzed, lit, puffed savory puff after. Irish? I don't know, faith. Is she, Simon? Puff after stiff, a puff, strong, savory, crackling. Buccinator muscle is. What? Bit rusty. Oh, she is. My Irish Molly, oh. He puffed a pungent plumy blast. From the Rock of Gibraltar. All the way. They pined in depth of ocean shadow, gold by the beer pull, bronze by maraschino, thoughtful all too. Mina Kennedy, 4 Lismore Terrace, Drumcondra with idolors, a queen, Dolores, silent. Pat served, uncovered dishes. Leopold cut liver slices. As said before, he ate with relish the inner organs, nutty gizzards, fried cod's roes, while Richie Golding, Collis, Ward ate steak and kidney, steak then kidney, bite by bite of pie he ate, Bloom ate, they ate. Bloom with Golding, married in silence, ate. Dinners fit for princes. By Bachelor's Walk Yogianti jingled Blazes Boylan, Bachelor, in sun in heat, mare's glossy rump attrit, with flick of whip, on bounding tires. Sprawled, warm-seated, Boylan impatience, ardent bold. Horn. Have you the? Horn. Have you the? Ha ha horn. Over their voices Dollard bassooned attack, booming over bombarding chords. When love absorbs my ardent soul. Roll of Bensel Benjamin rolled to the quivery love's hivery roof panes. War. War. Cried Father Cowley. You're the warrior. So I am, Ben Warrior laughed. I was thinking of your landlord. Love or money. He stopped. He wagged huge beard, huge face over his blunder huge. Sure, you'd burst the tympanum of her ear, man, Mr. Stately. Plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned. Daedalus said through smoke aroma, with an organ like yours. In bearded abundant laughter Dollard shook upon the keyboard. He would. Not to mention another membrane, Father Cowley added. Half-time, Ben, amoroso ma non troppo, let me there. Miss Kennedy served 2 gentlemen with tankards of cool stout. She passed a remark. It was indeed, first gentleman said, beautiful weather. They drank cool stout. Did she know where the Lord Lieutenant was going? And heard Steelhoof's ringhoof ring? No, she couldn't say. But it would be in the paper. Oh, she need not trouble. No trouble. She waved about her outspread independent, searching, the Lord Lieutenant, her pinnacles of hair slow-moving, Lord Lieutenant. Too much trouble, first gentleman said. Oh, not in the least. Way he looked that. Lord Lieutenant. Gold by bronze heard iron steel. ... My ardent soul. I care not for or the morrow. In liver gravy bloom mashed potatoes. Love and war someone is. Ben Dollard's famous. Night he ran round to us to borrow a dress suit for that concert. Trousers tight as a drum on him. Musical porkers. Molly did laugh when he went out. Threw herself back across the bed, screaming, kicking. With all his belongings on show. Oh saints above, I'm drenched. Oh, the women in the front row. Oh, I never laughed so many. Well, of course that's what gives him the bass barrel tone. For instance, eunuchs. Wonder who's playing. Nice touch. Must be Cowley. Musical. Knows whatever note you play. Bad breath he has, poor chap. Stopped. Miss Douce, engaging, Lydia Douce, bowed to suave solicitor, George Lidwell, gentleman, entering. Good afternoon. She gave her moist, a lady's, hand to his firm clasp. Afternoon. Yes, she was back. To the old ding-dong again. Your friends are inside, Mr. Stately. Plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, Lidwell. George Lidwell, suave, solicited, held a Lydia hand. Blue mate live as said before. Clean here at least. That chap in the Burton, gummy with gristle. No one here, Golding and I. Clean tables, flowers, mitres of napkins. Pat to and fro. Bald Pat. Nothing to do. Best value in dub. Piano again. Cowley it is. Way he sits into it, like one together, mutual understanding. Tiresome shapers scraping fiddles, eye on the bowend, sawing the cello, remind you of toothache. Her high long snore. Night we were in the box. Trombone under blowing like a grampus, between the acts, other brass chap unscrewing, emptying spittle. Conductor's legs too, bags trousers, jiggity jiggity. Do right to hide them. Jiggity jingle jaunty jaunty. Only the harp. Lovely. Gold glowering light. Girl touched it. Poop of a lovely. Gravy's rather good fit for a golden ship. Aaron. The harp that once or twice. Cool hands. Ben Hoth, the rhododendrons. We are their harps. I. He. Old. Young. Ah, I couldn't, man, Mr. Stately. Plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, Daedalus said, shy, listless. Strongly. Go on, blast you. Ben Dollard growled. Get it out in bits. Mapari, Simon, Father Cowley said. Downstage he strode some paces, grave, tall in affliction, his long arms outheld. Hoarsely the apple of his throat whorsed softly. Softly he sang to a dusty seascape there, a last farewell. A headland, a ship, a sail upon the billows. Farewell. A lovely girl, her veil a wave upon the wind upon the headland, wind around her. Cowley sang. Mapari tutamor. Il mio cigardo l'encounter. She waved, unhearing Cowley, her veil, to one departing, dear one, to wind, love, speeding sail, return. Go on, Simon. Ah, sure, my dancing days are done, Ben. Well. Mr. Stately, Plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned. Daedalus laid his pipe to rest beside the tuning fork and, sitting, touched the obedient keys. No, Simon, Father Cowley turned. Play it in the original. One flat. The keys, obedient, rose higher, told, faltered, confessed, confused. Upstage strode Father Cowley. Here, Simon, I'll accompany you, he said. Get Up. By Graham Lemon's Pineapple Rock, by Elvery's Elephant Jingly Jogged. Steak, kidney, liver, mashed, at meat fit for princes sat Princes Bloom and Golding. Princes at meat they raised and drank, power and cider. Most beautiful tenor air ever written, Richie said, Sonambula. He heard Joe Moss sing that one night. Ah, what McGuckin. Yes. In his way. Choir boy style. Moss was the boy. Mass boy. A lyrical tenor if you like. Never forget it. Never. Tenderly Bloom over liverless bacon saw the tightened features strain. Backachy. Bright's bright eye. Next item on the program. Paying the piper. Pills, pounded bread, worth a guinea a box. Stave it off a while. Sings too, down among the dead men. Appropriate. Kidney pie. Sweets to the. Not making much hand of it. Best value in. Characteristic of him. Power. Particular about his drink. Flaw in the glass, fresh Vartry water. Fecking matches from counters to save. Then squander a sovereign in dribs and drabs. And when he's wanted not a farthing. Screwed refusing to pay his fare. Curious types. Never would Richie forget that night. As long as he lived, never. In the gods of the old royal with little peak. And when the first note. Speech paused on Richie's lips. Coming out with a whopper now. Rhapsodies about damn all. Believes his own lies. Does really. Wonderful liar. But want a good memory. Which air is that? Asked Leopold Bloom. All is lost now. Richie cocked his lips up out. A low incipient note sweet banshee murmured, all. A thrush. A throstle. His breath, bird sweet, good teeth he's proud of, fluted with plaintive woe. Is lost. Rich sound. Two notes in one there. Blackbird I heard in the Hawthorne Valley. Taking my motives he twined and turned them. Almost two new call is lost in all. Echo. How sweet the answer. How is that done? All lost now. Mournful he whistled. Fall, surrender, lost. Bloom bent Leopold ear, turning a fringe of doily down under the vase. Order. Yes, I remember. Lovely air. In sleep she went to him. Innocence in the moon. Brave. Don't know their danger. Still hold her back. Call name. Touch water. Jingle jaunty. Too late. She longed to go. That's why. Woman. As easy stop the sea. Yes, all is lost. A beautiful air, said Bloom lost Leopold. I know it well. Never in all his life had Richie Golding. He knows it well too. Or he feels. Still harping on his daughter. Wise child that knows her father, Daedalus said. Me? Bloom askance over liverless saw. Face of the all is lost. Rollicking Richie once. Jokes old stale now. Wagging his ear. Napkin ring in his eye. Now begging letters he sends his son with. Cross-eyed Walter sir I did sir. Wouldn't trouble only I was expecting some money. Apologize. Piano again. Sounds better than last time I heard. Tuned probably. Stopped again. Dollard and Cowley still urged the lingering singer out with it. With it, Simon. It, Simon. Ladies and gentlemen, I am most deeply obliged by your kind solicitations. It, Simon. I have no money, but if you will lend me your attention I shall endeavor to sing to you of a heart bowed down. By the sandwich bell in screening shadow Lydia, her bronze and rose, a lady's grace, gave and withheld. as in cool glaucous eau de nil mina to tankards two were pinnacles of gold. The harping chords of prelude closed. A chord, long-drawn, expectant, drew a voice away. When first I saw that form endearing. Richie turned. See Daedalus' voice, he said. Brain-tipped, cheek-touched with flame, they listened feeling that flow endearing flow over skin limbs human heart soul spine. Bloom signed to Pat, bald Pat is a waiter hard of hearing, to set ajar the door of the bar. The door of the bar. So. That will do. Pat, waiter, waited, waiting to hear, for he was hard of hear by the door. Sorrow from me seemed to depart. Through the hush of air a voice sang to them, low, not rain, not leaves in murmur, like no voice of strings or reeds or what do you call them dulcimers touching their still ears with words, still hearts of their each his remembered lives. Good, good to hear. Sorrow from them each seemed to from both depart when first they heard. When first they saw, lost Richie Poldy, mercy of beauty, heard from a person wouldn't expect it in the least, her first merciful love-soft oft-loved word. Love that is singing, love's old sweet song. Bloom unwound slowly the elastic band of his packet. Love's old sweet sona's la gold. Bloom wound a skein round 4 fork fingers, stretched it, relaxed, and wound it round his troubled double, fourfold, in octave, gived them fast. Full of hope and all delighted. Tenors get women by the score. Increase their flow. Throw flower at his feet. When will we meet? My head it simply. Jingle all delighted. He can't sing for tall hats. Your head it simply swirls. Perfumed for him. What perfume does your wife? I want to know. Jing. Stop. Knock. Last look at mirror always before she answers the door. The hall. There? How do you? I do well. There? What? Or? Phial of catches, kissing comfits, in her satchel. Yes? Hands felt for the opulent. Alas the voice rose, sighing, changed, loud, full, shining, proud. But alas, 'twas idle dreaming. Glorious tone he has still. Cork air softer also their brogue. Silly man. Could have made oceans of money. Singing wrong words. Wore out his wife, now sings. But hard to tell. Only the two themselves. If he doesn't break down. Keep a trot for the avenue. His hands and feet sing too. Drink. Nerves overstrung. Must be abstemious to sing. Jenny Lind soup, stock, sage, raw eggs, half pint of cream. For creamy dreamy. Tenderness it welled, slow, swelling, full it throbbed. That's the chat. Ha, give. Take. Throb, a pulsing proud erect. Words? Music? No, it's what's behind. Bloom looped, unlooped, noted, disnoted. Bloom. Flood of warm jam lick it up secretness flowed to flow in music out, in desire, dark to lick flow invading. Tipping her tapping her topping her. Tup. Pores to dilate dilating. Tup. The joy the feel the warm the. Tup. To pour o'er sluices pouring gushes. Flood, gush, flow, joy gush, tup throb. Now. Language of love. Ray of hope is. Beaming. Lydia for Lidwell squeak scarcely hear so ladylike the muse unsqueaked a ray of hopkay. Martha it is. Coincidence. Just going to write. Lionel's song. Lovely name you have. Can't write. Except my little prez. Play on her heartstrings purse strings too. She's a. I called you naughty boy. Still the name, Martha. How strange. Today. The voice of Lionel returned, weaker but unwearied. It sang again to Richie Poldy. Lydia Lidwell also sang to Pat Open-Mouth Ear waiting to wait. How first he saw that form endearing, how sorrow seemed to part, how look, form, word charmed him. Gould Lidwell won Pat Bloom's heart. Wish I could see his face, though. Explain better. Why the barber in Drago's always looked my face when I spoke his face in the glass. Still hear it better here than in the bar, though farther. Each graceful look. First night when first I saw her at Matt Dillon's in Terranor. Yellow, black lace she wore. Musical chairs. We two the last. Fate. After her. Fate. Round and round slow. Quick round. We two. All looked. Halt. Down she sat. All ousted looked. Lips laughing. Yellow knees. Charmed my eye. Singing, waiting she sang. I turned her music. Full voice of perfume. Of what perfume does your lilac trees? Bosom I saw, both full, throat warbling. First I saw. She thanked me. Why did she me? Fate. Spanishy eyes. Under a pear tree alone patio this hour in old Madrid one side in shadow Dolores Shedalors. At me. Luring. Ah, alluring. Martha. Ah, Martha. Quitting all languor Lionel cried in grief, in cry of passion dominant to love to return with deepening yet with rising chords of harmony. In cry of Lionel loneliness that she should know, must Martha feel. For only her he waited. Where? Here there try there here all try where? Somewhere. Company Om, thou lost one. Co-Om, thou dear one. Alone. One love. One hope. One comfort me. Martha, chest note, return. Come. It soared, a bird, it held its flight, a swift pure cry, soar silver orbit leapt serene, speeding, sustained, to come, don't spin it out too long long breath he breath long life, soaring high, high resplendent, aflame, crowned, high in the effulgence symbolistic, high, of the ethereal bosom, high, of the high vast irradiation everywhere all soaring all around about the all, the endlessness. To me. Seapold. Consumed. Come. Well sung. All clapped. She ought to. Come. To me, to him, to her, you too, me, us. Bravo. Clap clap. Good man, Simon. Clappy clap clap. Encore. Clap clip clap clap. Sound as a bell. Bravo, Simon. Clap clap clap. Encore, and clap, said, cried, clapped all, Ben Dollard, Lydia Deuce, George Lidwell, Pat, Mina Kennedy, two gentlemen with two tankards, Cowley, first gent with tank and bronze Miss Deuce and gold Miss Mina. Blazes Boylan's smart tan shoes creaked on the bar floor, said before. Jingle by monuments of Sir John Gray, Horatio one-handled Nelson, Reverend Father Theobald Matthew, jaunted, as said before just now. Atrit, in heat, heat-seated. Cloche. Sonnesla. Cloche. Sonnesla. Slower the mare went up the hill by the rotunda, Rutland Square. Too slow for Boylan, Blazes Boylan, Impatience Boylan, joggled the mare. And after clang of Cowley's chords closed, died on the air made richer. And Richie Golding drank his power and Leopold Bloom his cider drank, Lidwell his Guinness, second gentleman said they would partake of 2 more tankards if she did not mind. Miss Kennedy smirked, deserving, coral lips, at first, at second. She did not mind. 7 days in jail, Ben Dollard said, on bread and water. Then you'd sing, Simon, like a garden thrush. Lionel Simon, singer, laughed. Father Bob Cowley played. Mina Kennedy served. Second gentleman paid. Tom Kernan strutted in. Lydia admired. But Bloom sang dumb. Admiring. Richie, admiring, descanted on that man's glorious voice. He remembered one night long ago. Never forget that night. C sang "'Twas rank and fame," in Ned Lambert's "'Twas." Good God, he never heard in all his life a note like that. He never did then. False one, we had better part so clear, so God he never heard since love lives not. A clinking voice lives not. Ask Lambert, he can tell you too. Golding, a flush struggling in his pale, told Mr. Stately, plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, Bloom, face of the night, see in Ned Lambert's, Daedalus house, sang "'Twas rank and fame." He, Mr. Stately, plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, Bloom, listened while he, Richie Golding, told him, Mr. Stately, plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, Bloom, of the night he, Richie, heard him, see Daedalus, sing "'Twas rank and fame" in his, Ned Lambert's, house. Brothers-in-law, relations. We never speak as we pass by. Rift in the lute, I think. Treats him with scorn. See. He admires him all the more. The night sea sang. The human voice, 2 tiny silky chords, wonderful, more than all others. That voice was a lamentation. Calmer now. It's in the silence after you feel you hear. Vibrations. Now silent air. Bloom ungived his crisscrossed hands and with slack fingers plucked the slender catgut thong. He drew and plucked. It buzzed, it twanged. While Golding talked of Barraclough's voice production, while Tom Kernan, harking back in a retrospective sort of arrangement, talked to listening Father Cowley, who played a voluntary, who nodded as he played. While Big Ben Dollard talked with Simon Daedalus, lighting, who nodded as he smoked, who smoked. Thou Lost One. All songs on that theme. Yet more Bloom stretched his string. Cruel it seems. Let people get fond of each other, lure them on. Then tear asunder. Death. Explodes. Knock on the head. Out to hell out of that. Human life. Dignum. That rat's tail wriggling. 5 bob I gave, corpus paradisum, corncrake croaker, belly like a poisoned pup. Gone. They sing. Forgotten. I too. And one day she with. Leave her, get tired. Suffer then. Snivel. Big Spanishy eyes goggling at nothing. Her wavy avivi heavy vievi hair uncombed, d. Yet too much happy bores. He stretched more. Are you not happy in your? Twang. It snapped. Jingle into Dorset Street. Miss Douce withdrew her satiny arm, reproachful, pleased. Don't make half so free, said she, till we are better acquainted. George Lidwell told her really and truly, but she did not believe. First gentleman told Mina that was so. She asked him was that so. And second tankard told her so. that was so. Miss Douce, Miss Lydia, did not believe. Miss Kennedy, Mina, did not believe. George Lidwell, no. Miss Doe did not. The first, gent with the tank. Believe, no, did not, Miss Ken. Lydia, well, the tank. Better write it here. Quills in the post office chewed and twisted. Bald Pat at a sign drew nigh. A pen and ink. He went. A pad. He went. A pad to blot. He heard, deaf Pat. Yes, Mr. Stately, plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, Bloom said, teasing the curling catgut line. It certainly is. Few lines will do. My present. All that Italian florid music is. Who is this wrote? Know the name you know better. Take out sheet notepaper, envelope, unconcerned. It's so characteristic. Grandest number in the whole opera, Golding said. It is, Bloom said. Numbers it is. All music when you come to think. 2 multiplied by 2 divided by half is twice 1. Vibrations, chords those are. 1 plus 2 plus 6 is 7. Do anything you like with figures juggling. Always find out this equal to that. Symmetry under a cemetery wall. He doesn't see my mourning. Callous, all for his own gut. Muse mathematics. And you think you're listening to the ethereal. But suppose you said it like, Martha, 7 times 9 minus x is 35,000. Fall quite flat. It's on account of the sounds it is. Instance he's playing now. Improvising. Might be what you like, till you hear the words. Want to listen sharp. Hard. Begin all right. Then hear chords a bit off. Feel lost a bit. In and out of sacks, over barrels, through wire fences, obstacle race. Time makes the tune. Question of mood you're in. Still always nice to hear. Except scales up and down, girls learning. 2 together next door neighbors. Ought to invent dummy pianos for that. Blumenlied I bought for her. The name. Playing it slow, a girl, night I came home, the girl. Door of the stables near Cecilia Street. Millie no taste. Queer because we both, I mean. Bald deaf Pat brought quite flat pad ink. Pat set with ink pen quite flat pad. Pat took plate dish knife fork. Pat went. It was the only language Mr. Stately, plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, Daedalus said to Ben. He heard them as a boy in Ringabella, Crosshaven, Ringabella, singing their barcarolles. Queenstown harbor full of Italian ships. Walking, you know, Ben, in the moonlight with those earthquake hats. Blending their voices. God, such music, Ben. Heard as a boy. Cross Ringabella Haven Mooncarol. Sour pipe removed he held a shield of hand beside his lips that cooed a moonlight night call, clear from a near, a call from afar, replying. Down the edge of his Freeman baton ranged Bloom's, your other eye, scanning for where did I see that? Callan, Coleman, Dignam Patrick. Hio. Fawcett. Aha. Just I was looking. Hope he's not looking, cute as a rat. He held unfurled his Freeman. Can't see now. Remember right Greek ease. Bloom dipped, blue myrrh, dear sir. Dear Henry wrote, dear Maddie. Got your let and flow. Hell did I put? Some pock or oath. It is utteral impos. Underline impos. To write today. Bore this. Bored Bloom tambourined gently with I am just reflecting fingers on flat pad brought. On. Know what I mean. No, change that ee. Accept my poor lit pres and close. Ask her no ans w. Hold on. 5 dig. 2 about here. Penny the gulls. Elijah is calm. 7 Davy Burns. Is 8 about. Say half a crown. My poor little pres, p. Oh. 2 and 6. Write me along. Do you despise? Jingle, have you the? So excited. Why do you call me not? You naughty too? Oh, Mary lost the string of her. Bye for today. Yes, we'll tell you. Want to. To keep it up. Call me that other. Other world she wrote. My patience are exhaust. To keep it up. You must believe. Believe. The tank. It. Is. True. Folly am I writing? Husbands don't. That's marriage does, their wives. Because I'm away from. Suppose. But how? She must. Keep young. If she found out. Card in my high-grade haw. No, not tell all. Useless pain. If they don't see. Woman. Sauce for the gander. A hackney car, number 324, driver Barton James of number 1 Harmony Avenue, Donnybrook, on which sat a fair, a young gentleman, stylishly dressed in an indigo blue serge suit made by George Robert Macias, tailor and cutter, of number 5 Eden Quay, and wearing a straw hat very dressy, bought of John Plasto of number 1 Great Brunswick Street, hatter. Eh? This is the jingle that joggled and jingled. By Delugach Porkshop bright tubes of agendeth trotted a gallant but talked mare. Answering an ad? Keen Richie's eyes asked Bloom. Yes, Mr. Stately, plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, Bloom said. Town traveler. Nothing doing, I expect. Bloom best references. But Henry wrote, it will excite me. You know how. In haste. Henry. Greek EE. Better add postscript. What is he playing now? Improvising. Intermezzo. P. S. The rum-tum-tum. How will you pun? You punish me? Crooked skirt swinging, whack by. Tell me I want to. No. Oh. Course if I didn't I wouldn't ask. La 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 re. Trails off there sad in minor. Why minor sad? Sign H. They like sad tail at end. P. P. S. La 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 re. I feel so sad today. La re. So lonely. D. He blotted quick on pad of pat. Invel. Address. Just copy out of paper. Murmured, Messrs. Callan, Coleman and Company, Limited. Henry wrote. Miss Martha Clifford. C.O.P. O. Dolphin's Barn Lane. Dublin. Blot over the other so he can't read. There. Right. Idea prize titbit. Something detective read off blotting pad. Payment at the rate of guinea per call. Matcham often thinks the laughing witch. Poor Mrs. Stately, plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, Purefoy. U. P. Up. Too poetical that about the sad. Music did that. Music hath charms. Shakespeare said. Quotations every day in the year. To be or not to be. Wisdom while you wait. In Gerard's rosary of Fetter Lane he walks, Great Auburn. One life is all. One body. Do. But do. Done anyhow. Postal order, stamp. Post office lower down. Walk now. Enough. Barney Kiernan's I promised to meet them. Dislike that job. House of mourning. Walk. Pat. Doesn't hear. Deaf beetle he is. Car near there now. Talk. Talk. Pat. Doesn't. Settling those napkins. Lot of ground he must cover in the day. Paint face behind on him then he'd be too. Wish they'd sing more. Keep my mind off. Bald Pat who is bothered mitered the napkins. Pat is a waiter hard of his hearing. Pat is a waiter who waits while you wait. He. He waits while you wait. He. A waiter is he. He. He waits while you wait. While you wait if you wait he will wait while you wait. He. Ho. Wait while you wait. Deuce now. Deuce Lydia. Bronze and rose. She had a gorgeous, simply gorgeous, time. And look at the lovely shell she brought. To the end of the bar to him she bore lightly the spiked and winding seahorn that he, George Lidwell, solicitor, might hear. Listen. She bade him. Under Tom Kernan's gin-hot words the accompanist wove music slow. Authentic fact. How Walter Baptiste lost his voice. Well, sir, the husband took him by the throat. Scoundrel, said he, you'll sing no more love songs. He did, faith, Sir Tom. Bob Cowley wove. Tenors get wom. Cowley lay back. Ah, now he heard, she holding it to his ear. Here. He heard. Wonderful. She held it to her own. And through the sifted light pale gold in contrast glided. To hear. Tap. Bloom through the bar door saw a shell held at their ears. He heard more faintly that they heard, each for herself alone, then each for other, hearing the plash of waves, loudly, a silent roar. Bronze by a weary gold, a near, a far, they listened. Her ear too is a shell, the peeping lobe there. Been to the seaside. Lovely seaside girls. Skin tanned raw. Should have put on cold cream first make it brown. Buttered toast. Oh, and that lotion mustn't forget. Fever near her mouth. Your head it simply. Hair braided over. Shell with seaweed. Why do they hide their ears with seaweed hair? And Turks the mouth, why? Her eyes over the sheet. Yashmak. Find the way in. A cave. No admittance except on business. The sea they think they hear. Singing. A roar. The blood it is. Souse in the ear sometimes. Well, it's a sea. Corpuscle Islands. Wonderful really. So distinct. Again. George Lidwell held its murmur, hearing, then laid it by, gently. What are the wild waves saying? He asked her, smiled. Charming, sea-smiling and unanswering Lydia on Lidwell smiled. Tap. By Larry O'Rourke's, by Larry, bold Larry O, Boylan swayed and Boylan turned. From the forsaken shell Miss Mina glided to her tankards waiting. No, she was not so lonely archly Miss Douce's head let Mr. Stately, plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, "Lidwell, no. Walks in the moonlight by the sea. No, not alone." "With whom?" She nobly answered, "With a gentleman friend." Bob Cowley's twinkling fingers in the treble played again. "The landlord has the prior." "A little time." "Long John." "Big Ben." Lightly he played a light bright tinkling measure for tripping ladies, arch and smiling, and for their gallants, gentlemen friends. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 4. Sea, wind, leaves, thunder, waters, cows lowing, the cattle market, cocks, hens don't crow, snakes hiss. There's music everywhere. Rutledge's door, creaking. No, that's noise. Minuet of Don Giovanni he's playing now. Court dresses of all descriptions in castle chambers dancing. Misery. Peasants outside. Green starving faces eating dock leaves. Nice that is. Look, 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 look. You look at us. That's joyful I can feel. Never have written it. Why? My joy is other joy. But both are joys. Yes, joy it must be. Mere fact of music shows you are. Often thought she was in the dumps till she began to lilt. Then no. McCoy valise. My wife and your wife. Squealing cat. Like tearing silk. Tongue when she talks like the clapper of a bellows. They can't manage men's intervals. Gap in their voices too. Fill me. I'm warm, dark, open. Molly in quis est homo, mercadanti. My ear against the wall to hear. Want a woman who can deliver the goods. Jog jig jogged stopped. Dandy tan shoe of dandy Boylan socks sky blue clocks came light to earth. Oh, look we are so. Chamber music. Could make a kind of pun on that. It is a kind of music I often thought when she. Acoustics that is. Tinkling. Empty vessels make most noise. Because the acoustics, the resonance changes according as the weight of the water is equal to the law of falling water. Like those rhapsodies of Liszt's, Hungarian, gypsy-eyed. Pearls. Drops. Rain. Diddle-adle addle-eedle oodle oodle. Hiss. Now. Maybe now. Before. One rapped on a door, one tapped with a knock. Did he knock Paul de Kock with a loud proud knocker with a cock caracara cock? Cock. Tap. Qui est degno, Ben, said Father Cowley. No, Ben, Tom Kernan interfered. The croppy boy, our native Doric. I do, Ben, Mr. Stately. Plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, Daedalus said. Good men and true. Do, they begged in one. I'll go. Here, Pat, return. Come. He came, he did not stay. To me. How much? What key? 6 sharps? F sharp major, Ben Dollard said. Bob Cowley's outstretched talons griped the black deep-sounding chords. Must go Prince Bloom told Richie Prince. No, Richie said. Yes, must. Got money somewhere. He's on for a razzle backache spree. Much? He see here's lip speech. 1 and 9. Penny for yourself. Here. Give him 2pence tip. Deaf, bothered. But perhaps he has wife and family waiting Patty come home. He. Deaf wait while they wait. But wait. But here. Chords dark. Lugubrious. Low. In a cave of the dark Middle Earth. Embedded ore. Lump music. The voice of dark age, of unlove, earth's fatigue made grave approach and painful, come from afar, from hoary mountains, called on good men and true. The priest he sought. With him would he speak a word. Tap. Ben Dollard's voice. Bass barrel-tone. Doing his level best to say it. Croak of vast manless moonless womoonless marsh. Other come down. Big ship's chandler's business he did once. Remember, rosiny ropes, ship's lanterns. Failed to the tune of 10,000 pounds. Now in the Iva home. Cubicle number so and so. Number 1 bass did that for him. The priest's at home. A false priest's servant bade him welcome. Step in. The Holy Father. With bows a traitor servant. Curlicues of chords. Ruin them. Wreck their lives. Then build them cubicles to end their days in. Hushaby. Lullaby. Die, dog. Little dog, die. The voice of warning, solemn warning, told them the youth had entered a lonely hall, told them how solemn fell his footsteps there, told them the gloomy chamber, the vested priest sitting to shrive. Decent soul. Bit addled now. Thinks he'll win in answers, poet's picture puzzle. We hand you crisp £5 note. Bird sitting hatching in a nest. Lay of the last minstrel he thought it was. C*T what domestic animal? T-AR most courageous mariner. Good voice he has still. No eunuch yet with all his belongings. Listen. Bloom listened. Richie Golding listened. And by the door deaf Pat, bald Pat, tipped Pat, listened. The chords harped slower. The voice of penance and of grief came slow, embellished, tremulous. Ben's contrite beard confessed. In nomine Domini, in God's name he knelt. He beat his hand upon his breast, confessing, mea culpa. Latin again. That holds them like birdlime. Priest with the communion corpus for those women. Chap in the mortuary, coffin or coffee, corpus nomini. Wonder where that rat is by now. Scrape. Tap. They listened. Tankards and Miss Kennedy. George Lidwell, eyelid well expressive, full-busted satin. Kernan. C. The sighing voice of sorrow sang. His sins. Since Easter he had cursed 3 times. You bitches bast. And once at mass time he had gone to play. Once by the churchyard he had passed and for his mother's rest he had not prayed. A boy. A croppy boy. Bronze, listening, by the beer pool gazed far away. Soulfully. Doesn't half know I'm. Molly great dab at seeing anyone looking. Bronze gazed far sideways. Mirror there. Is that best side of her face? They always know. Knock at the door. Last tip to titivate. Cockcarakara. What do they think when they hear music? Way to catch rattlesnakes. Knight Michael Gunn gave us the box. Tuning up. Shah of Persia liked that best. Remind him of Home Sweet Home. Wiped his nose in curtain too. Custom his country perhaps. That's music too. Not as bad as it sounds. Tootling. Brasses braying asses threw up trunks. Double basses helpless, gashes in their sides. Woodwinds mooing cows. Semigrind open crocodile music hath jaws. Woodwind like Goodwin's name. She looked fine. Her crocus dress she wore low-cut, belongings on show. Clove her breath was always in theater when she bent to ask a question. Told her what Spinoza says in that book of poor papas. Hypnotized, listening. Eyes like that. She bent. Chap in dress circle staring down into her with his opera glass for all he was worth. Beauty of music you must hear twice. Nature woman half a look. God made the countryman the tune. Met him pike hoses. Philosophy. Oh rocks. All gone. All fallen. At the siege of Ross his father, at Gorey all his brothers fell. To Wexford, we are the boys of Wexford, he would. Last of his name and race. I too. Last of my race. Milly young student. Well, my fault perhaps. No son. Rudy. Too late now. Or if not? If not? If still? He bore no hate. Hate. Love. Those are names. Rudy. Soon I am old. Big Ben his voice unfolded. Great voice Richie Goulding said, a flush struggling in his pale, to bloom soon old. But when was young? Ireland comes now. My country above the king. She listens. Who fears to speak of 1904? Time to be shoving. Looked enough. Bless me, father, Dollard the crappie cried. Bless me and let me go. Tap. Bloom looked, unblessed to go. Got up to kill, on 18 bob a week. Fellows shell out the dibs. Want to keep your weather eye open. Those girls, those lovely. By the sad sea waves. Chorus girls romance. Letters read out for breach of promise. From Chickabadee's Oni Mumpsipum. Laughter in court. Henry. I never signed it. The lovely name you. Low sank the music, air and words. Then hastened. The false priest rustling soldier from his cassock. A yeoman captain. They know it all by heart. The thrill they itch for. Yeoman cap. Tap. Tap. Thrilled she listened, bending in sympathy to hear. Blank face. Virgin should say, or fingered only. Write something on it, page. If not, what becomes of them? Decline, despair. Keeps them young. Even admire themselves. See. Play on her. Lip blow. Body of white woman, a flute alive. Blow gentle. Loud. 3 holes, all women. Goddess I didn't see. They want it. Not too much polite. That's why he gets them. Gold in your pocket, brass in your face. Say something. Make her hear. With look to look. Songs without words. Molly, that hurdy-gurdy boy. She knew he meant the monkey was sick. Or because so like the Spanish. Understand animals too that way. Solomon did. Gift of nature. Ventriloquize. My lips closed. Think in my stom. What? Will? You? I. Want. You. Too. With hoarse rude fury the yeoman cursed, swelling in apoplectic bitch's bastard. A good thought, boy, to come. 1 hour's your time to live, your last. Tap. Tap. Thrill now. Pity they feel. To wipe away a tear for martyrs that want to, dying to, die. For all things dying, for all things born. Poor Mrs. Stately, plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, Purefoy. Hope she's over. Because they're wombs. A liquid of womb of woman eyeball gazed under a fence of lashes, calmly, hearing. See real beauty of the eye when she not speaks. On yonder river. At each slow satiny heaving bosom's wave, her heaving embon, red rose rose slowly sank red rose. Heartbeats, her breath, breath that is life. And all the tiny fern foils trembled of maidenhair. But look. The bright stars fade. O rose. Castile. The morn. Ha. Lidwell. For him then not for. Infatuated. I like that? See her from here though. Popped corks, splashes of beerfrith, stacks of empties. On the smooth jutting beer pull laid Lydia hand, lightly, plumply, leave it to my hands. All lost in pity for Croppy. Fro, to, fro, over the polished knob, she knows his eyes, my eyes, her thumb and finger passed in pity. Passed, reposed and, gently touching, then slid so smoothly, slowly down, a cool firm white enamel baton protruding through their sliding ring. With a cock with a cara. Tap. 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 I hold this house. Amen. He gnashed in fury. Traitors swing. The chords consented. Very sad thing. But had to be. Get out before the end. Thanks, that was heavenly. Where's my hat? Pass by her. Can leave that Freeman. Letter I have. Suppose she were the? No. Walk, walk, walk. Like Cashel Boyle Connor O'Coilo Tisdall Maurice Tisentdall Farrell. Walk. Well, I must be. Are you off? YRFMSTBYEs. Blemstup. Or rye high blue. Ow. Bloom stood up. Soap feeling rather sticky behind. Must have sweated. Music. That lotion, remember. Well, so long. High grade. Card inside. Yes. By deaf Pat in the doorway straining ear Bloom passed. At Geneva barrack that young man died. At passage was his body laid. Dolor. Oh, he Dolores. The voice of the mournful chanter called to dolorous prayer. By rose, by satiny bosom, by the fondling hand, by slops, by empties, by popped corks, greeting in going, past eyes and maidenhair, bronze and faint gold in deep sea shadow, went Bloom, soft Bloom, I feel so lonely Bloom. Tap. 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 Pray for him, prayed the bass of Dollard. You who hear in peace. Breathe a prayer, drop a tear, good men, good people. He was the Croppy boy. Scaring eavesdropping boots Croppy boots boy Bloom in the Ormond hallway heard the growls and roars of Bravo, fat backslapping, their boots all treading, boots not the boots the boy. General chorus off for a swill to wash it down. Glad I avoided. Come on, Ben, Simon Daedalus cried. By God, you're as good as ever you were. Better, said Tomgin Kernan. Most trenchant rendition of that ballad, upon my soul and honor it is. Lablash, said Father Cowley. Ben Dollard bulkily cachuchad towards the bar, mightily praise-fed and all big roseate, on heavy-footed feet, his gouty fingers knackering castagnettes in the air. Big Benabin Dollard. Big Ben. Big Ben. RRR. And deep moved all, Simon trumping compassion from foghorn nose, all laughing they brought him forth, Ben Dollard, in right good cheer. You're looking rubicund, George Lidwell said. Miss Douce composed her rose to wait. Ben Macri, said Mr. Stately, plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, Daedalus, clapping Ben's fat back shoulder blade. Fit as a fiddle, only he has a lot of adipose tissue concealed about his person. RRRRRRRSS's. Fat of death, Simon, Ben Dollard growled. Richie riffed in the lute alone sat, Golding, Collis, Ward. Uncertainly he waited. Unpaid pat too. Tap. 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 Miss Mina Kennedy brought near her lips to ear of tankard one. Mr. Stately, plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, Dollard, they murmured low. Dollard, murmured Tankard. Tank one believed. Miss Ken when she. That doll he was. She doll, the tank. He murmured that he knew the name. The name was familiar to him, that is to say. That was to say he had heard the name of. Dollard, was it? Dollard, yes. Yes, her lips said more loudly. Mr. Stately, plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, Dollard. He sang that song lovely, murmured Mina. Mr. Stately, plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, Dollard. And the last rose of summer was a lovely song. Mina loved that song. Tankard loved the song that Mina. 'Tis the last rose of summer Dollard left bloom felt wind wound round inside. Gassy thing that cider, binding too. Wait. Post office near Reuben J's 1 and 8 too. Get shut of it. Dodge round by Greek Street. Wish I hadn't promised to meet. Freer in air. Music. Gets on your nerves. Beer pull. Her hand that rocks the cradle rules the. Ben Hoth. That rules the world. Far. 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 Tap. 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 Up the key went Lionel Lephold, naughty Henry with letter for Maddie, with sweets of sin with frillies for Raoul with met him pike hoses went Poldy on. Tap blind walked tapping by the tap the curbstone tapping, tap by tap. Cowley, he stuns himself with it, kind of drunkenness. Better give way only halfway the way of a man with a maid. Instance enthusiasts. All ears. Not lose a demi-semi-quaver. Eyes shut. Head nodding in time. Dotty. You daren't budge. Thinking strictly prohibited. Always talking shop. Fiddle-faddle about notes. All a kind of attempt to talk. Unpleasant when it stops because you never know exact. Organ in Gardiner Street. Old Glynn 50 quid a year. Queer up there in the cockloft, alone, with stops and locks and keys. Seated all day at the organ. Maunder on for hours, talking to himself or the other fellow blowing the bellows. Growl angry, then shriek cursing, want to have wadding or something in his no don't she cried, then all of a soft sudden wee little pippy wind. Whee. A wee little wind piped ee. In Bloom's little wee. Was he? Mr. Stately, plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, Daedalus said, returning with fetched pipe. I was with him this morning at poor little Paddy Dignam's. Aye, the Lord have mercy on him. By the by, there's a tuning fork in there on the tap. 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 The wife has a fine voice. Or had. What? Lidwell asked. Oh, that must be the tuner, Lydia said to Simon Lionel. First I saw, forgot it when he was here. Blind he was, she told George Lidwell. Second I saw. And played so exquisitely, treat to hear. Exquisite contrast, bronzolid, Mina gold. Shout. Ben Dollard shouted, pouring. Sing out. LLDO. Cried Father Cowley. RRRRRR. I feel I want. Tap. 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 Very, Mr. Stately, plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, Daedalus said, staring hard at a headless sardine. Under the sandwich bell lay on a bier of bread one lonely, last sardine of summer. Bloom alone. Very, he stared. The lower register, for choice. Tap. 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 Bloom went by berries. Wish I could. Wait. That wonderworker if I had. 24 solicitors in that one house. Counted them. Litigation. Love one another. Piles of parchment. Messrs. Pick and Pocket have power of attorney. Golding, Collis, Ward. But for example the chap that wallops the big drum. His vocation, Mickey Rooney's band. Wonder how it first struck him. Sitting at home after Pig's Cheek and Cabbage, nursing it in the armchair. Rehearsing his band part. Pompety. Jolly for the wife. Asses' skins. Welt them through life, then wallop after death. Wallop. Seems to be what you call yashmak, or I mean kismet. Fate. Tap. Tap. A stripling, blind, with a tapping cane came tap-tap-tapping by Daly's window where a mermaid hair all streaming. But he couldn't see, blue whiffs of a mermaid. Blind couldn't, mermaid, coolest whiff of all. Instruments. A blade of grass, shell of her hands, then blow. Even comb and tissue paper you can knock a tune out of. Molly in her shift in Lombard Street West, hair down. I suppose each kind of trade made its own, don't you see? Hunter with a horn. Ha. Have you the cloche? Sonnesla, shepherd his pipe. Wee little wee. Policeman a whistle. Locks and keys. Sweep. 4 o'clock's all's well. Sleep. All is lost now. Drum? Pompety. Wait. I know. Town crier, bumbailiff. Long John. Waken the dead. Dignam. Poor little nominee domini. It is music. I mean, of course it's all pom, very much what they call da capo. Still you can hear. As we march along, march along. I must really. FFF. Now if I did that at a banquet. Just a question of custom, Shah of Persia. Breathe a prayer, drop a tear. All the same he must have been a bit of a natural not to see it was a yeoman cap. Muffled up. Wonder who was that chap at the grave in the brown messine. Oh, the whore of the lane. A frowsy whore with black straw sailor hat askew came glazily in the day along the quay towards Mr. Stately. Plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, "Bloom." When first he saw that form endearing. "Yes, it is. I feel so lonely. Wet night in the lane. Horn. Who had the he-ha she saw off her beat here? What is she? Hope she pissed. Any chance of your wash? New Molly. Had me decked. Stout lady does be with you in the brown costume. Put you off your stroke, that appointment we made knowing we'd never, well hardly ever. Too dear too near to home sweet home. Sees me, does she? Looks a fright in the day. Face like dip. Damn her. Oh, well, she has to live like the rest. Look in here. In Lionel Marx's antique sale shop window haughty Henry Lionel Leopold dear Henry Flower earnestly Mr. Stately, Plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him on the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned. Leopold Bloom envisaged battered candlesticks melodeon oozing maggoty blowbags. Bargain. 6 bob. Might learn to play. Cheap. Let her pass. Course everything is dear if you don't want it. That's what good salesman is. Make you buy what he wants to sell. Chap sold me the Swedish razor he shaved me with. Wanted to charge me for the edge he gave it. She's passing now. 6 bob. Must be the cider or perhaps the Burgund. Near bronze from a near gold from afar they chinked their clinking glasses all, bright-eyed and gallant, before bronze Lydia's tempting last rose of summer, rose of Castile. First lid, cow, her, doll, a 5th, Lidwell, C. Daedalus, Bob Cowley, Kernan and Big Ben Dollard. Tap. A youth entered a lonely Ormond hall. Bloom viewed a gallant pictured hero in Lionel Marx's window. Robert Emmet's last words. 7 last words. Of Meyerbeer that is. True men like you men. I, Ben. Will lift your glass with us. They lifted. Chink. Chunk. Tip. An unseeing stripling stood in the door. He saw not bronze. He saw not gold. Nor Ben nor Bob nor Tom nor C nor George nor Tanks nor Richie nor Pat. He did not see. Seabloom, Grease Bloom viewed last words. Softly, when my country takes her place among. PRR. Must be the burr. FFF. Ooh. RRPR. Nations of the earth, no one behind. She's past, then and not till then. Tram cran. Good opper. Coming. Cran. I'm sure it's the Burgund. Yes. 1, 2, let my epitaph be, written. I have. P. Prarpferp. Done.
If you liked what you heard, please subscribe to the channel.